What is the housing market going to do in Texas? This is a big question that a lot of people looking to either move to Texas, not just Austin, or sell in the next year. Texas in general has just been in the news about the housing market. Back in 2022, prices were astronomically high and then immediately dropped. Since then, we've had a lot of things happen. So what I'm gonna do today is I'm gonna talk to you about what's happening in the Austin housing market. We're gonna go over the stats for that. And then we're actually gonna talk to a bunch of realtors. Now, look, you're like, oh God, Jeremy, realtors are just gonna try to sell me something. Look, we look at the data, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. I try to bring on people that are giving you good quality information and not just trying to sell you information. So I'm actually at a big event here, and I figured it was a great time to talk to different realtors from different cities in Texas. So in a second, I'm gonna go over the Austin market, but I actually had some really good insights on what some of these agents are gonna say. So stay tuned to the end so I can give you kind of a recap of what I think is really gonna happen, what not just in the Austin market, but some of these other markets. Let's start with San Antonio, and then I'm gonna go into the Austin market and some of the other markets, so stay tuned. All right, let's shift and talk about San Antonio, right? So this is Michael McCall. His channel is Life in San Antonio, Texas. In fact, you should probably check it out. It's at over 10,000 subscribers. So if you're looking in the San Antonio area, pretty much anywhere there, look at his channel, good resource there. Obviously, the Austin market has been up a little bit. Tell me what you saw last year in 24 for the market in San Antonio.
It's kind of similar in San Antonio. So it was slow for the first half of the year, and then really after summer, it kind of picked up where it normally doesn't. And especially after the election and everything at the end of November and December, sales were up 12% year over year in December this past year. So it was a pretty good jump there at the end of the year.
Where were they for overall sales prices? Was it up or down?
It was pretty flat, honestly. Okay. It was up about 2%, but flat overall. So it kind of dropped a little bit after 2022, and then it was up like 2% year over year, really. So not much.
All right, so let's talk about the market right now. We're in January, right? December was a busy month. What are you seeing already in January as far as sales? Are more calls coming in, or more people looking, and where are people looking?
Oh yeah, ton more calls as far as people coming in. I've had a lot more people reaching out to me specifically in the last couple months, and I don't see that slowing down. Even just since we've been here talking in the last couple hours, I've gotten a couple reach outs. So I mean, the market is picking up a lot overall. There are a lot more listings, but I think that overall pending sales has actually kind of started to pick up a little bit too from some of the micro markets that I've been looking at, some of the different suburbs like New Braunfels, Bernie, and some of those areas too.
What are the buyers running into right now in your market?
Well, the biggest thing is kind of still like what you're talking about, like with the, as far as the interest rates and everything is the biggest problem, right? But because San Antonio is such a veteran heavy market, you have a lot of VA buyers. The interest rates aren't as bad with those. And it's a lot easier to get concessions, especially with the new construction, because we're such a heavy new construction market that, I've got buyers that are getting 4.5% interest rates right now.
Yeah,
so
nice.
It makes things so much easier. And the builders are paying those down quite a bit, like $50,000 in incentives for some of those things.
That's crazy. Yeah. What about sellers? What are sellers facing right now?
It's the competition with the new builds. Honestly.
Yeah, okay.
Like I've got a couple sellers right now that are really struggling because they have a ton of new builds around them. And it's hard to push past that objection of, hey, I can buy a new build or I can buy this house, even though the old house, the existing home is, a lot lower price at this point. They're still getting that super low interest rate and seeing the incentives and everything else with the new builds, and it's hard to push past that.
So on your channel, where are you telling people to be looking at in 2025 as far as market, like different neighborhoods or suburbs?
Yeah, so I mean, our top markets really is, you got Bernie, you got New Braunfels. Those are kind of the top two that people are looking at moving at. And then the far west side of San Antonio, that's where the vast majority of the super affordable new construction. We got stuff over there that's 180,000 still for halfway decent houses that some people can find. But as far as suburbs, Bernie and New Braunfels tend to be the top places that people are looking at, because it's really not far. It's not hard to get around San Antonio. Get from downtown San Antonio up to those suburbs is like 35-40 minutes. It's really not that bad of a commute.
What about pricing? Where is pricing at right now?
As far as like
overall, just a little median price for San Antonio?
It's at 320.
320
is median price right now.
Where are buyers getting the best deals? Like what price range are buyers getting the best deals in?
It's that sub 300 market is really where the best deals are being had, because that's where the most competition is, because you have that kind of, that's where the majority of the numbers are, especially with new construction. And then where you have those new construction, you have a lot of existing homes that are also for sale that are kind of 2 or 3 years old. And the people that kind of paid a lot higher prices for them during the pandemic, right? I don't know if y'all saw that in
Oh
Austin a
yeah.
lot,
Oh
but
yeah.
we saw, I mean, I've got a client right now that he bought a house for 275 and the seller actually sold that house to him and paid $45,000 to sell that house. It's a year
Shoo!
and a half year old
Yeah,
house,
they
you
paid
know?
to walk away.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Where do you think the market's going to go for San Antonio area in the next, year?
I think that overall, just with the interest rates, people kind of figuring out, you've probably seen it talking to
Yeah.
your clients. So people are just figuring out this is the interest rate. Like I've had people that I've been working with that rented houses for a year and a half thinking the interest rates would come down, and now they're just like done with it. They're like, hey, I think I'm accepting the fact that these are the interest rates that we're getting at, and they're tired of renting. And so they're going out and buying houses now. So I expect that trend to kind of be consistent throughout the year, just because of, now that the interest rates are dropping nationally with the Fed rates, it's not really affecting the mortgage rates a whole lot.
Right.
And so I think people are seeing that and they're tired of being on the fence, and they're going to get back out there and start buying personally.
Nice. All right. Well, hey, if you want to reach out to Michael, I'll put his information below. Follow his channel. Say thank you to him in the comment section for coming on. And if you hate realtors, because all of you complain that I bring on realtors, drop a comment below. We'll see you in the next segment.
Yes, what will this do next? That's right. It's the drama.
Okay, let's talk about Austin and what is going on in the Austin market. Now, if we talked about the Austin market last year, a lot of people said that we were going to see a crash and that prices were going to drop. I actually have the market stats right here showing what just the city of Austin did. If we look, it actually mirrored and matched 2023's numbers. In fact, ending the year at 570,000, way higher than we ended the year in 2023. Now, I'm curious to ask you in the comment section, I noticed that at the end of November, we had rates that were a little bit lower and they started coming back up. Yet we saw people really like our listings that had sat stale were finally going under contract. In fact, we started to see the market really pick up. And I think that's partly why you saw November's numbers higher. Now you're going to say, Jeremy, that's Austin City, but what about Austin MSA? And so when we do the MSA is pretty much there's 5 suburbs or 5 counties around Austin. Well, the MSA, which is all of those counties combined, ended at 436,000. We ended the year positive 1.5%. This is the Round Rock MSA. If we look at the bottom here, list to close price ratio is still 91%. So prices, people were listing high and they were still going about 8% lower than list price. So what we saw all of last year is that our buyers were getting really, really good deals on homes. They were getting homes well below list price. And this is why I kept saying, hey, if you're looking at buying, get in now. And a lot of people said, hey, it's just you trying to sell a home. The reality, I was seeing that yes, interest rates were really high and it was tough for a lot of our buyer clients with those rates, but getting the price down was a benefit to them. But even on this stat right here, it shows that the market ended up the year 1.4 over in December, which is at $450,000. In fact, look at the inventory. The inventory dropped down to 3.8. A couple months ago, the inventory was 6% down to 3.8. Now, that is typical for what happens in a normal year. And I think that's really important that I tell you that, because in a normal year, we do see the inventory start to drop. And now if we look at the city of Austin specific, the city of Austin ended up 6.5%, 575,000. So it matched that last graph I showed you, but prices still sold at 8% below original list price, and inventory was at 3.7%. So what we're seeing now is that in the last 2 weeks, my team has put nine clients under contract in the last 2 weeks. That's between buyers and sellers that were on the market. Right now, we have a lot of people reaching out to us. They're finding us in the description, they're calling or they're emailing us, and they're reaching out to us to represent them to buy. So we are seeing a pickup on our end as far as buyer demand. So what does that mean for all of 2025? I think the reality is for Austin, it means that we're going to hopefully have another stable year, because right now we're at 3.8 months of inventory. We do have still a lot of inventory in our areas, not 9,000 homes on the market, right? So that's a far cry from where we were at like 14,000 homes on the market in our MSA. So I think you're going to see that inventory of stuff that was stale last year that got pulled off the market is going to relist. All of those sellers that are finally getting over the fact that rates are at 7%, and some of them have to move for whatever reason, they have to move, you're going to see more of those homes hit the market. So I'd be really careful as a seller to overprice this year, because I think it is going to be a much more stable market. In fact, I have a lot of sellers reaching out to me right now for this information. So if you are a seller and you want more information on the Austin market and you do need help in the Austin market, I'd definitely love to chat with you and see what we can do to get your home sold and go through some of the marketing pieces. But I think it is, if you're a seller, you're going to have to really, really be careful not to overprice. And in fact, I just did a video last week talking about the upgrades and some of the things that you should do to get your home ready. I would go back and watch that video, and then reach out to us. The other thing is that buyers, I think you're going to still see some good deals for buyers, especially in new construction. I think we're going to start seeing some of that new construction inventory drop a little bit. It was really, really high this year. That doesn't mean that it's going to drop and prices are going to really, really go up. I just think we're going to have a much more stable year. I think we'll end the year probably 3 to 4% up year over year. But that's not crazy like we were seeing in 18 and 19. We were seeing 7, 8, 9% up. So in my opinion, I think it's going to be stable. I'm curious of what you think. So let's go actually hear what's going to happen in Dallas.
Yes, what will this do next? That's right. It's the drone.
All right, so let's chat Dallas. I'm here with Brando. He's actually one of my favorite people in the Dallas market. He's got a great YouTube channel. Actually, it's going to be down below in the link as well. Brando, what was 2024 like for buyers and for sellers?
2024. So I would say towards the beginning, it was a very slow market when it came to sellers. But eventually, kind of towards the summertime, the market did start speeding up. But there's still, according to all the new construction that's in Dallas, it is causing some sellers, especially that live like in the outer parts where it's close to new construction, those are the ones that are taking a longer time to sell. But anything in the mid cities, anything that's very centrally located, no problem.
Oh, Matt, that's good information. I love that. Okay, so where did prices go? Did they go up towards the end of the year? Did you end up year over year up or down? What did that look like for Dallas?
It actually stayed pretty stable, but we did have some price corrections in some of the mid cities that were, originally maybe going up for a very long time. We probably got a 20,000 price reduction on some of the properties in the mid cities, especially the older communities. But when it comes to new construction, it's been pretty stable, especially with the incentives that they offer. It's been pretty good.
Yeah, it's the same thing in the Austin market.
Yeah.
I mean, some of those builders took a little bit longer to sell, but buyers were going to new construction. Were a lot of your clients and a lot of the people buying in Dallas, were they all relocation buyers or primarily relocation buyers?
I would say about 30% were
Okay.
relocation. Yeah.
Wow, that's less than I thought it would be. Okay. So right now it's January. What does the market look like for somebody getting in the market for buying, and what does it look like for them getting in for selling?
So for buying, I would say it's looking better because we do see that a lot of people that were kind of just hanging out there, they're starting to realize that maybe the rates are not going to drop that much, and they're just kind of hanging in the side. So some people just want to stop renting, and eventually they're accepting the interest rate the way it is. Eventually having, they think that eventually, or we are going to see the rates drop eventually. So they're considering buying now instead of waiting.
What are you talking to sellers right now that are getting ready to sell? Like, what's your advice to them in January at the moment?
For them, I'm just letting them know in case if they are, especially in those areas where there's a lot of new construction, I am letting them know that the best thing they can do is get ready for the spring. They can take their time right now, get their home ready, do their few minor updates, and eventually offer something similar that the builder's offering, kind of like the incentives that they're offering to be able to compete with them as well.
What do you think the market's going to do over the whole year? Do you think the market's going to go up a lot? Do you think it's just going to be pretty stable? What is your overall thoughts on the market for Dallas for 2025?
The way it's looking, we are gonna see some demand. The demand is gonna go up eventually. So we're thinking that prices are gonna keep going up for this year, especially with everybody that was waiting for many years. They're starting to actually take a decision to start this year. So the way it's looking, And the statistics say that they're receiving, I don't have the exact number, but they're receiving so many applications this first quarter, which leads to eventually speeding up the market for this year.
Do you think rates hurt 2024? Do you think people are just kind of like, hey, I'm done with worrying about the rate. I'm going to buy in right now?
It is for some portion. I would say a percentage, 50% of the people are starting to feel like that. But then there's the other 50 that are still waiting for the rates to drop. So it's going to be a stable market.
Stable market. So,
Yeah.
okay, awesome. Well, that's all really good information. If you
Yeah.
want more information from Brando, go find his channel below. I'll put his information down there as well. All right, next segment.
You guessed what will this do next? That's right. It's the drone.
Let's talk about the Houston market now and compare that to the Austin market. I have Chase Giles with his YouTube channel is Chase Giles, moving to Woodlands Realtor.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so you can find his channel there. So, Chase, give us a brief replay of what the market looked like in 2024 in Houston area.
So specifically speaking for kind of North Houston, the Woodlands, we actually saw an increase in median price of about $60,000 in our market, right?
Really?
So homes are still selling for more and more each year. We saw a $15 increase in the average price per square foot, which resulted in about like a 9 or 8.5, kind of 9% year over year increase compared to 2023. So what we really saw was buyers knew their budget. They stuck to it. But when a good home in a good neighborhood with some pretty good updates came on, people were really interested in it, and they did sell pretty quickly. Clearly, the homes that weren't as updated or weren't as cared for stayed on a little bit longer. But our average days on market for those homes was 28 days.
Really?
So, yeah.
Wow.
So I mean, definitely still a seller's market.
So what about inventory? Like in Austin, the inventory shot up. Did inventory really spike and did it like make sellers nervous?
No, we really didn't see much of it. I think some people typically, because we're so academically driven, towards the end of summer, if somebody sees what their neighbor sold for and they try to chase that price at the end of August, somebody's already chosen to purchase their house or make a lease or sign a lease. So therefore that home will sit a little bit longer and then they have to reduce the price. So if you listed your home, then yeah, there was more competition towards the end of the year to actually get it sold. But for the most part, people still, like, again, 30 days on market or less. So they, if they presented it well, if they marketed well, if they listened to their realtor, right, as the professional, then I don't think there was much worry for a lot of people. We still were in that cycle of people are worried about where their next step is going to be.
Yeah. So like in Austin, people are really hyper focused on rates. It doesn't look like they're as focused on that. What about the whole market as a whole for Houston? Was it up, down? What was your perception on that?
It was up, and rates definitely affected people. But because Houston and the Woodlands is a pretty big hot, and really, I mean, Texas for that matter, but
Yeah.
as we niche down, it being a heavy relocation market for a lot of people, they're on a timeline, they're motivated. In a lot of cases, these people are getting relocation packages.
Yeah.
So some of their closing costs are covered.
Gotcha.
So they are motivated to go ahead and make the purchase, even though rates are high.
Gotcha.
Again, they know their budget. They want to stay within that, and they want to make sure they understand the property taxes and the homeowner's insurance. But that is what I saw, and what I will continue to see is people will, they're accustomed to a little bit higher rates, but they are motivated because they have to be here for work and they don't want to be separated from their family.
So we're in January right now. What are you seeing in January, and what's kind of your expectation for most home buyers and sellers over the next, 3, 6, 12 months?
I'm actually already seeing an increase in buyer demand.
Okay.
Again, I think buyers realize that higher rates are here to stay, and they know that if that's the case, as we approach summertime, there's going to be more competition. So it's better now to maybe pay a couple months of double rent, but not have to pay $10,000 over asking price come summertime, right? See that. However, buyers' budgets are going to get a little bit more constrained as lenders are issuing pre-approvals because Houston was affected and continues to be affected by increase in insurance costs, right? So as maybe the value goes up and property taxes are going up and the prices are going up too, that insurance can be the wild card. And so I think that's now starting to, it was more of a buyer concern, but I actually think it's going to start shifting to a seller's concern where they're going to look at maybe doing some roof repairs or roof replacement to help incentivize that buyer to come to their home and what can we do in advance before closing to lower their monthly payment.
So do you think sellers are going to be in a good position towards the last half? Who's going to have the better last half of the year? Is it going to be buyers or sellers? Because usually, like, our market goes, between now and June, it starts to really pick up in the Austin area. I'm sure Houston's the same way. We hit the last half of the year and it slows back down. Do you think it's going to be a better time for buyers to buy then or to get in now?
Actually, I saw this in 2024, and I'll make the same prediction for 2025 as well. I think it's going to be that after fall, after school starts, heading towards the holidays, I think will be the best time, right? Because sellers will be motivated or they're worn out. There probably will be less competition, and I don't anticipate seeing rates change that much. So you might actually have, right now, people are waiting to summer to list their home, so you're more limited on inventory. Whereas if you're willing to maybe fudge your criteria a little bit on interior updates or location, you'll have more options that are stagnant with more motivated sellers, right? Now sellers are saying, well, why would I accept a lower offer? Why wouldn't I wait till summertime? Because that's what we're coming towards. But if that passes, they're like, oh man, Christmas is coming. Nobody's going to be shopping. I might as well accept a bigger offer. So that's an interesting observation. Yeah, that we've seen in years past, that potentially the best time for a buyer to purchase a home in 2025 is going to be that later fall time.
Awesome. All right. Well, hey, if you want to reach out to Chase in the Woodlands area or in Houston, I'll put his information below. What do you think so far about Houston compared to San Antonio, compared to Austin? So there's a lot of information there. And what I noticed and what a lot of these agents said is that last year was really, really slow market. We knew that, and all the predictions have been that there's going to be more sales, and that's just not realtors. There's been 17 big predictors that have come out and said that there's going to be more sales. Now, what they've all said is that they're right now in the market, seeing more buyers kind of get off the sidelines and back in the market. Everybody's a little bit more comfortable with the interest rates. And so now look, I don't like the interest rates at 7%. I know you don't like the interest rates at 7%, but more buyers are feeling more confident. I don't know if it was an administration change. I don't know if it was just finally people feel better about things or they're just dealing with it. I know a lot of you think that the prices just need to crash or they want to crash. And if you're one of those people, I'd love for you to talk about why you think the market is going to crash and how much longer you're going to continue to wait. Look, over a 30-year time frame, homes usually go up in value. So it's not about timing the market, it's about your time in the market. What are your thoughts on this whole video overall? Jeremy and I think if your favorite Austin realtor, make sure you share this with a friend. I don't do this just to sell homes. I do this to give you really good information because I care about the Austin market. I care what's happening in the Austin market. I've lived here for 12 years and I love the people here and I love what Austin is about at its core. So if you like all those things, do all the things I said and also share.